Firstly, I'd like to welcome everybody to this, our first Think Global Forum week. Especially, I'd like to say thanks to all of the participants. These events are participative and the success of them is down to all of your contributions over the last number of years, over all the 28 events. They have made them what they are, and Vistatec as an organization and myself are very proud to be associated with the forum and very proud of the outcomes that we've seen from them. Over the course of the week, we've got some great speakers and a packed agenda of interesting topics. So I'm sure we will find, we'll all find something interesting, informative over the course of the week. It has certainly been a tumultuous year for everyone, none less than ourselves at Vistatec. Last year, on the 12th of March, we shuttered our offices here in Dublin, and in the space of a very short few hours, a process on a tried and tested way of working that had developed and evolved over 20 years literally went out the window. This change that the pandemic has brought about has certainly given us all pause for thought, both at a personal and professional level, and I think equally at an organizational and a societal level. There's been a seismic change in the way these various strata of the world interact with each other. And it would seem to me now that a significant part of the solution to the pandemic that we now face is an acceptance that acting in each other's interest is no longer simply a morally good thing to do. It is now a basic step in how we're going to beat this pandemic. So as I say, it is fair to say that the last year has brought a large number of very big challenges, but challenges generally bring opportunities for improvement, and that's what I think we need to be focusing on. I'm not quite sure who said that a good crisis shouldn't be wasted, but there is certainly a grain of truth in that statement. And given the price that this pandemic has taken on all of us, it would probably be morally wrong for us not to try and learn and improve things based on what we've seen over the last year. From our own industry's perspective, our standpoint, it's difficult to think of a set of circumstances that could have more clearly highlighted the importance or the need for a comprehensive global strategy to growth that does involve as a key part a digital dimension. We at Vistatec have been advocating this digital strand of a global strategy to all of our customers now for quite some years. We believe strongly that all customers are looking for ways to interact with their service providers in a digital way more and more as time passes. I don't believe that conventional mediums are no longer important. I think they're a vital part, but certainly digital is becoming more important. It's not digital or dead, it's not a binary decision, but certainly the last year and the pandemic has supercharged the shift of the digital requirement to the center of most boardroom discussions around globalization strategies in the last year or so. Now, before we all lose the run of ourselves in terms of the rush to digital, I think we need to pause for a moment and we need to think about what it is that we're trying to achieve, and very importantly, the environments in which we all live and work, and to acknowledge the human aspect of that environment. For any strategy, digital or otherwise, to be successful, it must take account of the environment that it is to be implemented in. The chain that links any business to its end users, to its customers, is influenced by a wide variety of very complex factors. And in crafting a digital strategy, this complexity is largely driven by the human element. This is a fact that is crucially important to acknowledge in trying to create a sustainable digital strategy, both in terms of your target market and your global content strategies, but also in terms of your own organizations. For example, within our own organization, we've had to pivot our HR and management practices to address the loss of social and cultural cohesion that an office setting can create. And that has certainly been a challenge. From an organization's perspective on your digital trail, it's important to acknowledge that it is a living and if you like, an ecosystem approach to the digital strategy. It is not build it and they will come. I kind of view, digital as just one strand, perhaps, of a communication ecosystem where there are many strands where organizations communicate with their customers and try to influence behaviors. So you must first engage but then you must retain, and you retain through the provision of ongoing, meaningful content that impacts the behavior of your consumers or your customers at the end of the chain. So, you must view it as a living organism almost. From a macro and societal point of view, I think we can all see that the most successful organizations are those who aligned their values and their core principles as closely with all of their stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, I mean staff, I mean shareholders, I mean customers. Now, the interesting thing that the digital, if you like, revolution, or the rush to digital has impacted in this area is around transparency. And has brought the transparency of those values and the importance of them to a whole new level. Customers and all stakeholders, they want to know what type of organization they are dealing with, what their core principles are, what they will stand for, and perhaps what they won't stand for, because these answers to those questions, they will influence buying decisions. And certainly, the visibility of those values and principles of organizations are much more accessible in the digital world. So I suppose the point that I'm making is that digital can affect everything in all aspects of our lives. And what we want to do here is we want to make sure that those impacts and those effects are positive, and to try and harness them and help us and our customers to achieve their goals. So stepping back a little bit, I think in summary, we at Vistatec, we're not saying anything massively different in terms of our philosophy on global content and its power. We still believe that all content has power, and content properly deployed can actually, metaphorically speaking, move mountains. But what has actually happened in the last while is that the digital strand of that content strategy, or that globalization strategy, has really come into sharp relief, and the imperative for having one has never been clearer. Certainly, we can see that over the last year. And certainly it has been very sharply felt by those that haven't been prepared. Thinking globally and having a business strategy that reflects that is now really the cornerstone of all robust and agile organizations. Those that take a multifaceted view of their content strategy are those that will survive and thrive regardless of the trials that are thrown at them. Now, before I hand back to Aoife, I would like to acknowledge that today is International Women's Day. And I know that over the course of the week, certainly the pandemic will probably feature in the vast majority of conversations that will be had. And I would like to point out that the country that perhaps dealt with the pandemic in the most efficient and effective manner was New Zealand, a country interestingly led by a woman. Jacinda Ardern. One of the points that was mentioned in the intro around International Women's Day was this point of challenging gender biases. And I think that's a really interesting point to make. And I would strongly urge anyone, if they want to understand how to challenge gender biases, they should look at a speech given by the former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, on misogyny in Australian politics. It's an eye-opener, and it's definitely how gender biases should be challenged. Personally speaking, Vistatec has quite an unusual, perhaps, gender balance in the organization, where the female to male ratio is actually 6:4. And I think that mix and that variety of perspectives and balance has been intrinsic to the successes that the organization has had, and I would pay tribute to all those involved in that. In closing, I would like to wish you all a very enjoyable, and more importantly, I hope, informative Summit week. Hopefully you will leave with a little bit more insight and perhaps some interesting and thought-provoking commentary. Thank you very much all for your participation, and I look forward to hearing and seeing from you over the next while. Back to you, Aoife.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was a great welcome note. So true what you say about the ecosystem of communication, and how, although we are all undergoing this digital transformation in industry, that really what it's all about is a communications and a content strategy with a digital strand.